Today. So as we are in the University of Colorado Boulder, and the University of Colorado Boulder acknowledges that it is located on the traditional territories and ancestral homelands of the Cheyenne, Arapaho, Ute, and many other Native American nations. And I also wanted to highlight what the Center for Native American and Indigenous Studies at the University of Colorado Boulder has written on their website about everybody developing their own personal land acknowledgement. The Center for Native American and Indigenous Studies believes that a meaningful land acknowledgement statement must address historical wrongs and inequities and not just state the fact that others once occupied the land. And so I really encourage all of you to think about, especially like those of us that are non-Indigenous, what are you going to do to acknowledge the benefits you have received in exchange for the unjust ways that lands were occupied and acquired, as well as the continuing negative effects on the previous occupants and their descendants? And so for all of us in our personal land acknowledgement, this could include commitments of time, money, or service to organizations that serve Indigenous peoples in your area. So I really encourage everyone here to think about that deeply and to think about that moving forward, how you will consider this. And so we were going to introduce the team. Shelby, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry.
You're fine.
Okay, so hello everyone. My name is Shelby Ross. I'm a enrolled member of the Oglala Sioux tribe, and was born and raised on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation in southwestern South Dakota. I have a bachelor's degree in conservation biology from my local tribal college, Oglala Lakota College, and I have a master's degree in environmental science and engineering from Oregon's Health and Science University in Portland, Oregon. Right now, I'm a PhD candidate within the Department of Geography at the University of Colorado Boulder. My research interests include natural disasters, especially extreme weather events, impacts on Native American health. I'm looking at the extreme weather events impacts on type 2 diabetes in Native American, in the Native American population in the Northern Great Plains region. I'm also really interested in traditional ecological knowledge and in incorporating that into my dissertation as well. Yeah, so that's me. Just a little short. If any more questions about me, I can answer later.
Thanks, Shelby.
Yeah.
And so to introduce myself, so my name is Melissa Villarreal, and I am a PhD candidate in sociology at the University of Colorado Boulder and a graduate research assistant at the Natural Hazards Center. And really my overall passion, my really research interests really come down to understanding the disproportionate impacts that marginalized communities face in disasters and natural hazards, and understanding what the root causes of those impacts are so that we can appropriately address them. So it's addressing the root causes rather than just treating the symptoms, right? And so my dissertation research is on the long-term post-disaster housing recovery of Mexican immigrant women. And I am doing my research in Houston, Texas, where I am currently at, where I was born and raised, and where my parents, who are both Mexican immigrants, currently live, and where they were impacted by Harvey in 2017, just 1 week after I moved to Colorado to start my PhD program. So I didn't actually go through Harvey, but I did go through that with my parents, even though I was a state away. And so I knew once I was establishing my own research and trying to establish what I was going to do as a scholar, I knew that that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to understand what the impacts were for immigrants and in this case, Mexican immigrants, and understanding the process of recovery from Harvey over the last 5 years. And so with that lens, I'm so excited to be here with Shelby and working on this project. And so I'm just going to give a quick overview to what this listening series is about. So according to the US Census, as of 2021, there were an estimated 7.2 million people in the United States who self-identified as American Indian or Alaska Native. And this is the language that the census uses. And at present, AIAN areas comprise approximately 764,000 square miles of the United States. So just looking at these two data points, we cannot ignore this population in our disaster research and public health practice. And so this becomes even more important once we look at and identify the historical and contemporary social and economic factors that intersect and have rendered Indigenous populations especially at risk of disaster. And so these include things like high rates of poverty, geographic and social isolation, cultural marginalization, and language barriers. And these all heighten the risk of Indigenous populations to natural hazards, as well as to illness and death, as we have seen with the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. And so the purpose of these sessions, understanding that background and that context, is to build a community of practice of disaster researchers and public health practitioners that are currently involved in or who have previous experience working on public health disaster issues in tribal areas or in partnership with Indigenous-led efforts. And so the goals of this listening session series and of this community of practices are threefold. So first, we want to better understand the current status of Indigenous-led public health disaster research and learn more about effective strategies for tribal engagement and intercultural collaboration. Number two, we want to identify future directions for public health disaster research with Indigenous populations and in tribal regions. And number three, we want to support and maintain this community of practice for years to come by cultivating a network of public health researchers, disaster researchers, and those working at the interface of the two fields. And this is researchers and practitioners as well. So to highlight a couple of different types of deliverables that will come out of this series, after each listening session, Shelby and I will put together a brief report documenting key insights and recommendations that came out of that session. And then at the end of our 5 listening sessions, at the end of or mid-July, we will put together a synthesis document to inform next steps for the community of practice, including suggestions regarding possible areas for future research support. And these will be shared with all of you. They will be shared with our co-organizers and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. And so quickly going through our schedule for the next few weeks. Today is our first listening session, first of 5. We are really going to be focusing today on learning about one another and our work. And while we have themes for each session here, they are flexible based on what we see all of you are interested in, what we learn from you that is important and that you really want to prioritize. But generally, today is focused on learning about one another. Session 2 next week on June 13th is going to be focused on disaster impacts and capabilities of Indigenous communities. Session 3 on critical gaps in public health disaster research, and session 4 on future directions for public health disaster research. I want to highlight that these 4 sessions are all virtual. And so we will drop in the chat the link for you to visit the website and learn more about how to register and get the link. This is a different link for each one. So if you've registered for this one, but not for the rest, you do need to go ahead and do that. And our 5th listening session will be in person during the Natural Hazards Workshop in Broomfield, Colorado. So if you will be attending, please join us and we will be discussing strengthening intercultural collaborations and tribal engagement strategies. So for now, I will stop sharing my screen and I will turn it over to Lori, who will talk more about how this project came to be and of our partnerships with our organizations and CDC.
Thank you, Melissa, and thank you, Shelby, and thanks to everyone for being here today. As Melissa said, my name is Lori Peak, and I serve as the director of the Natural Hazard Center, and it is my honor to also offer a welcome to this first listening session in this 5-session series. And I just wanted to acknowledge Melissa and Shelby at the outset for their leadership with bringing these listening sessions together and all of the time, effort, thought, and care they have put into this. So thank you to Melissa and Shelby for your leadership. We also wanted to acknowledge our partners at the Center for Native American and Indigenous Studies here at the University of Colorado Boulder, the Rising Voices Initiative at UCAR, and also the Bill Anderson Fund. And then, of course, with sincere thanks to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and the National Science Foundation for the support that has made these listening sessions possible. And so Melissa and Shelby asked me if I would provide a little bit of background and context of what led us to this moment today. And in order to do that, I need to take us back to 2020, which is the year that we launched the Public Health Disaster Research Award Program here at the Natural Hazard Center, which is currently led by Dr. Rachel Adams and Dr. Megan Morty, who are on this call. And the Public Health Disaster Research Program, we've issued 4 special calls to date with funding support from the CDC for this program. And at the heart of this program, what holds it up and helps us to carry it forward, there are really 4 core pillars. And so the first core pillar is related to advancing rigorous public health research that focuses on understudied places and understudied population groups. And so for that reason, those 4 special calls to date have focused on special calls related to advancing research in the 5 inhabited US territories, in rural communities, and in tribal regions, as well as among Indigenous population groups. Second core pillar of the program is to train and support a diverse next generation of disaster researchers and public health practitioners. Third core pillar is to advance equitable, ethical collaborations between researchers, practitioners, community members, and others who are concerned with understanding and applying the results of public health disaster research. And then 4th core pillar related is to translate the research into action and to make sure that it is applicable to the communities where this research is most relevant. And so that brings us to where we are today. With advancing those 4 special calls for public health disaster research, one of the things that we really recognized and learned from our partners on the ground was that it was crucial that we hear more from Indigenous community members, leaders in the research and practice space, as well as non-Indigenous researchers and practitioners who are working on enhancing their tribal engagement strategies. So ultimately, these 5 listening sessions, as Melissa said, are about learning about the current state of knowledge and practice, about trying to identify gaps. Where do we need more research, more applications, more knowledge to be generated for advancing societal good in these understudied and, as we know, often underserved areas? Understudied equals underserved is one of our mantras around here. And so we're trying to, again, bring together, sort of thinking about a Venn diagram, disaster researchers, public health practitioners, and those who are on the ground, who are working in tribal areas and who are Indigenous leaders in this space, so we can learn together and advance research and practice. And so with that, again, I'll bring it full circle to welcome everyone here today. And I'm going to turn this microphone back to Shelby and Melissa so they can lead us through our remaining time together. Thank you again, everyone.
Thank you so much, Lori. And so I'm going to drop in the chat some instructions for our activity that is going to take up the most of our session today. And we will start off with a bit of a test run just to make sure that everyone is on the same page, that everybody understands what we're doing. And so I dropped the link in and I will share my screen in just a moment. But this is a link to Jamboard. You do not need to log in. You can just click on it and it should take you to a blank screen, a blank page. And I'm going to share my screen now so that you can see what I see and what it is that you should see on your end. Okay, so I will be asking all of you to, if you look on the left-hand side, this toolbar here, and the fourth icon down, if you hover over it, it's called the sticky note function. If you click on it, the pop-up box will pop up and then you can answer the question. What is your name and affiliation? And I will give everybody a couple of minutes to do this. And then you can post, you can change the color. My favorite color is blue, so that's what I'm gonna do. And if you're having any issues doing that or any technical difficulties, please let us know. This is why we're doing this bit of a test run, so we can see that everybody can access this and get on here. Amazing. It's okay if yours overlaps with somebody else's. We can definitely fix this up later. Beautiful. It's so great seeing where everybody's from.
Is there anyone who's having issues or struggling to do the Jamboard? No? Okay.
Awesome. Yes, again, it's just on this left-hand side, the toolbar with the sticky note function. And we will do a second. I love how well the Hazards Workshop has trained us not to use acronyms. Yes, I love seeing that everybody is writing out instead of using acronyms where they are from. And so if we look up here and go to look at the little arrow and go to the second page in the second frame, there's another question here for you. So what research or practice are you currently involved in, or what past research or practice experience do you have, particularly related to disasters and public health? And so once again, if you would direct yourself to the sticky note function and add in some responses here, that would be another bit of practice here. And it would also help us see what backgrounds everybody has. If you could sign off with your name, that would be very helpful as well. Is anybody having trouble finding that second page? It is up here on the center of the Jamboard of the page, and you can just click back and forth between page 1 and page 2 for the different questions. And this is what you will be all doing in a moment in separate breakout rooms. So this is the perfect time to ask questions either by chat, or you can unmute yourselves to ask if something is confusing.
Melissa, I just thought of something, because those sticky notes have a character limit. And I'm wondering if people have links to resources and so forth. Should we have them put it in the chat box, or what would we like to do if people have articles or things like that they want to share?
That's a great question. Absolutely. You can put it in the chat. That would be amazing. We're saving the chat at the end. Or you can also use the text box, which I believe might have more character space, but I don't quote me on that. It might be easier
Okay.
just to do the chat for sure.
Awesome. Thank you.
And the text box is also in that toolbar on the left-hand side, just a little bit further down. Either or is completely fine, whatever your preference is. Thank you so much to everybody writing in here. Does anybody have any other questions before we transition in a minute or two to our breakout rooms?
Hey, Melissa, my computer doesn't seem to be liking the system of the sticky notes. So I'll just listen in if anyone has any questions for me. This is Christopher Dyer.
Hi, Christopher. Thank you so much. And in
Hola.
and in the breakout rooms, we do ask if somebody is having a bit of an issue connecting, that you still all listen to each other, and somebody else who maybe is not having those technical difficulties to please go ahead and write in somebody else's ideas that maybe they can't write in themselves, and just attribute it to them as well. So this is meant to be collaborative, a community, we're helping each other. So I'm glad that it seems some of us are able to access.
Awesome.
Yes.
I need all the help I can get. I just had another session.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And that it goes for everybody.
Okay.
And note that if you didn't put your name on the second page, we don't know who's doing all of this great work. So you might want to just end with your name.
Yes. And that's a perfect reminder, always attributing in the breakout rooms, yeah, your wonderful ideas. Even if it's just first and last name, we can always find your contact information in the registration list, but that way we can cross-reference if we have your name in your sticky notes. These are amazing. All right, so we will have someone in the chat. Ooh, thank you, Lauren, for sharing that. That's amazing. All of these resources that you plug into the chat or the sticky notes, they all will be going in that report that Shelby and I are putting together after each session. So they are being captured. So please share as many as you would like. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create breakout rooms. So everybody's going to go into a smaller group. There's going to be more space, I think, in those smaller groups for actual discussion. Shelby and I will go into each room and drop all of you the instructions again with a new fresh link with new questions. You will do exactly what you just did here. And again, if someone is having those technical difficulties, be sure to talk to one another. And if you feel a little bit more comfortable with the Jamboard, write down somebody else's comments and ideas and questions. And So we will go ahead and do that now.
Do I need to be, or do we need to be co-hosts or no?
I don't think you have to.
Okay. How much time in the breakout rooms?
And sorry, everyone. I was seeing the breakout rooms and now I am not seeing them anymore.
Melissa, I may be the host, so let me,
Okay.
let me give that capability back to you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And we will spend, we do want to come back and have like about 5 to 10 minutes at the end. So you'll spend about 15 to 20 minutes in these breakout rooms.
Okay, Melissa, you are the host now. Thank you.
Awesome. I can see it now. So we will have breakout rooms of 6 people each. So 5 breakout rooms. Again, Shelby and I will go in one by one with each of you. So just hang tight. Speak amongst yourselves and we'll be there soon. All right, you should have gotten an invite.
So I think I need to be a co-host to go into each different room.
I will get that to you.
So I'm doing 4 and 5.
Yes.
Okay.
Or there's 6 breakout rooms.
Oh, I can just,
Go to 4, 5, and 6, and I'll go to 1, 2, 3.
okay. Yeah.
All right, I have one more room.
Me too.
Okay.
I'm so sorry about being late. I had the times mixed up.
Oh
In my
my
mind, I thought
big-
one,
The
but
times are just so confusing, but it worked out perfectly. It's like no biggie.
yeah.
And it seems like it's going well. I'm gonna pull up all the links here to see if people are actually writing in them.
Yeah. It looked like they were signed on, but
Yeah, people were like, and at least the three that I went to, it was at least one person that was pretty comfortable with the Jamboard, so
yeah.
that made me feel a little bit better. And so I was thinking we would just jump back and forth uh in the groups, and just that way in case questions come up we can answer, but otherwise I was just maybe gonna drop in and just kind of sit there and listen, and if nobody says anything to me I would just quietly leave and go to the next room. um and yeah, well, like I'll call everybody back when we have 10 minutes.
Okay. Yeah. I'll do the same.
Okay. Whew.
Figure out what. Beautiful.
Okay, looks like everyone's having that breakout rooms closing in a minute.
Yeah.
I've been looking through, everybody's been putting sticky notes, except I think number 4, but it looked like Megan Morty was taking some notes for that group. So we'll need to touch base with her.
Yeah. I was in and out of that group, but yeah, they start having discussion amongst each other.
For sure, which is great to see.
Melissa and Shelby, we had to be dragged out of our room intentionally we didn't want to leave.
Okay, so anyone want to start or share what was commonly discussed?
So we wanted to go through each group and just, like about a minute for each group of just sharing a main idea that came out of your discussions. You're welcome to approach this sharing however you would like, whatever you found the most interesting and important. And so let's start with room 1. That was Lauren's group. Anybody in the group was welcome to share. You can just go ahead and unmute.
I'll go for it. I'll start with a question for you guys. Are we going to have access to the Jamboard for a little while if we didn't quite get all our things written down?
Yes, you will have access to those. You're welcome to add in stuff in there all day today if you would like to. Shelby and I will be working on that like after session report today. So if you could add in anything, any last minute thoughts today, that would be amazing. But yes, you should have access to it after the meeting.
Cool. And I see a blank page 4 for our group. Do you mind if we put our contact information? Because I liked my group a lot and I want to be able to connect with them.
Yes, for sure.
All right. So really quickly, I guess what brought us to the listening sessions, we saw it advertised on Facebook and Twitter through friends, word of mouth. We were intrigued by the keywords in the event name, interested in the research topics. So we're excited to be here. Main issues that we are interested in is our compounding and cascading disaster events, practices for ethical research, how we decided that we are one of the main issues impacting tribes, and we want to make sure that we're not one of those main issues. So how do we do research well and ethically? We talked about culturally sensitive healthcare and mental health support, especially. We talked about landless tribes and Native folks who are not living on tribal land and how to help them prepare for and adapt to climate change. And hearing from members of those communities so that we can better understand what the main issues they want us to address are. And then for the last one, our outcomes, we're really hoping to get a sense of the foundation of what research is already out there that we should be reading. So not reinventing wheels, getting an idea from other states and geographic areas of what folks are doing, and program and policy diffusion. And that's all we had for outcomes. I think that's where we wanted to add things. So that's our group.
Nice.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And room 2, that was I'm seeing Lori, Mary, Rachel, and Tracy were in room 2. So if anybody would like to share.
I'll do just a really quick synopsis. That we had a natural hazard center and CDC group, and so it was really focused on all that we want to learn from these sessions. And we also, just even in the context of those few minutes together, we came up with a variety of different ideas for just possible connections to be made, contributors to identify, and so forth. So that was kind of the gist of our conversation. Thank you.
Awesome. I'm writing all of this down, and Shelby is too. We're trying to make sure we're capturing everything. And so room 3, Anderson, Jennifer, Jolie, Kathleen, and Mary.
I can speak about our group. So our group is really interested in this question of engagement and how do we put the concerns that are these tribal areas and Indigenous persons are experiencing rather than coming into the room with our own research questions, and really focusing on how we can create creative solutions, I guess, that help answer these questions for these areas, but also focusing on preparedness and mitigation as well when it comes to natural hazards and disasters in these areas. So, yeah.
Thank you. Room 4, Chelsea, Daya. I'm so sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. Laura, Megan, Rebecca.
Well, I'll go ahead and just start off for my group. We had an amazing group as well. We also didn't want to leave the room. We didn't write anything on the Jamboard because we got a little bit intimidated by trying to put all of our ideas in a small space. And we were all intrigued listening to Rebecca Blackwood, who doesn't have her camera on right now, but I'm going to see if she will come off mute and maybe give a little bit of the talk she was giving to us, which was very interesting. She's a tribal member, and just her experience working with organizations was really informative for me. So do you mind coming off, Rebecca, or do you feel okay about that?
No, I'm fine. Hauka and Shaway and Yachich, Rebecca Blackwood. I am a tribal member from Manzanita Band of the Kumeyaay Nation, which is in rural East San Diego County. And I am an environmental assistant in our environmental department. And we're a very small tribe. We only have about 150 members. So we only have 3 people working in our environmental department. And as I was telling my group, I actually have a degree in social work. I flip-flop between public health and social work. And I'm thinking I'm going to continue mine in public health because I'm more concerned about the reservation as a whole, as a community, and how we can work together. But some of the, I mean, we have a multitude of grants and people that work with us. And I was recently telling them of a positive experience from the County of San Diego Public Health Department. They wanted to work with tribes to help Native students, Native children succeed. So they contacted the high school and asked, you know, if they knew of anybody. And I also work in the entire community, even the non-tribal community. And I work with the high school and I volunteer and I help. And so the principal was able to give her my name. And we have 3 tribes in the area, and I'm familiar with all of them and friends with many people and know most of the tribal members. So I was speaking on behalf of the 3 tribes, and they approached it the correct way. We talked on the phone on Zoom for about 3 hours. They told us what they had in mind and what we wanted. And that was the big thing that's different from a lot of people that approach tribes. A lot of them will say, here we have a grant, it's 15,000, you can do this. It's 50,000, you can do this. And we've had people talk with us and go, nope, doesn't fit within our parameters, sorry, bye. Instead of approaching us and asking, we want to help, how can we help, like the County of San Diego did. And then afterwards, I just recently last week took them on a tour, because it's very important that, you know, if you don't know any Native people and you haven't been to a reservation and you don't know how they live and you don't know what they want, maybe just speaking to them is not enough. You need to come see how we live. You know, come on the reservation, see what our housing is like, see how far away doctors are, schools are, or see in some of the rural areas what we have to survive still in order to live. And so they were very appreciative. It helped them go back to the office and train other people and help them realize what area they're serving and who they're serving. And that's just a really important component, instead of just, I'm here, we have money, we want to help you. And another suggestion I had that is, you know, besides respecting our traditional ecological knowledge, is just speaking. A lot of times it's hard for us, especially me, I talk a lot, but to be quiet and listen, especially elders. Our elders, they don't talk like me. I'm unusual. I talk fast. I probably will when I'm an elder, but they don't. There's a lot of thinking and a lot of pausing, and a lot of times it takes a long time. So when you set up a meeting, listen to the elders, make sure the meeting's not an hour, real quick. Oh, we got to go, bye. Make sure you have time to listen to them tell you about the history of the tribe, listen to them tell you what the needs are of the tribe, and then try to see how you can figure it out with them, how your program or your funding will be able to help them create what they need. And that's the best way to do it, instead of coming in and saying, I have this and we want to help you, because unfortunately we've heard the quote unquote white man do that for how many hundreds of years, promise us, try to help us, try to do things, and it ends up harming. So we have an incredible distrust, even to this day, of government or any programs or anyone trying to help that's not Indigenous. So you have to ask yourself when you're dealing with tribes, why are you doing this? Why do you want to help the tribe? And be genuine. It can't just be that it's your job and you just happen to have this grant and you have to do it. You have to be able to look them in the eye and tell them why you want to do this and why you want to help their tribe.
Rebecca, thank you so much for that. That's amazing. And Megan, thank you for passing on the microphone to Rebecca. That was incredibly insightful and a lot there for us to reflect on. And I do know we're a couple of minutes beyond time, but I do want to give a minute to room 5 and 6, and then we will say goodbye. So room 5, Chevy, Christine, Christopher, and Heather B. If someone would like to just quickly summarize what they talked about.
Hi, Christopher Dyer again. Room 5 was really eclectic. We had people from all different perspectives. I guess a lot of it had to do with people wanting to learn more about what others are doing, but Rebecca works in Canada, and she's looking at hazards and how they're affecting, any of you can speak up if I'm misrepresenting what's going on there and how particularly fires are an issue. But she's looking to collect and link up with people across, particularly at the hazards meeting, who are working with Indigenous populations and their solutions and practical applications. We had one on community resilience and recovery. That's what I'm looking at in the statewide, but that also covers all 22 of our Pueblo tribal groups. I'm working particularly with the Navajo and the Zuni on what's called a CART, a community action response team model, to give them better disaster resilience preparation against things from drought to fires to pandemic. Let's see, emergency relief for artisans. That was another topic, which I think is fascinating, because that has to do with when someone their whole life is tied up in using the resources of nature to create artisanal products which reflect their heritage and history. What happens when they lose their tools or their ability to produce these things, or even access to the materials themselves? So that was really interesting. Tech solutions to problems that people have regarding resources in recovery, and how can technology be used to help Indigenous populations recover, and particularly to catch up so they don't get behind in that process. One of our colleagues at Old Dominion University, she's been working with Joshua Bear, who's I'm starting to work with at Old Dominion. They have a project under SEMA, which has to do with using, again, technical solutions to solving spot-specific problems on hazards and disasters in coastal areas in coastal Virginia. And that was USEF that had that particular project. Anyone else want to add to that? I mean, we were coming from all over, so it was hard to say, well, what was our general topic? But we had fun and we enjoyed each other.
That's so great to hear. And yeah, like it's exciting when you have an eclectic group and can really share new insights with each other. And so room 6, last but not least, Heather C, Lynn, Ned, and Simplice. I'm sorry if my Spanish accent is not how you pronounce that, but would someone like to share?
I'll go ahead and share for us. I think that we all also came from different backgrounds, but in the end, what we really ended up coalescing around was that we all want to figure out how to be a better ally, because none of us actually were identifying as an Indigenous person. And so we all wanted to just be like, how can we be better at being ourselves and being allies for these people who need allies?
Thank you, Heather, and thanks all of you for being here. I did put in the chat just now about registering for the rest of the sessions. Again, that's an individualized link for each one of them, so you do need to register for 2 and 3 and 4 if you haven't already. And so I hope to see you next week, and thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you everyone for participating and coming. We really appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
See y'all. As we say in Virginia, see y'all.
See you.
All right, I'll end the call now.
Good.